We hope you're up to date on all your Pretty Little Liars secrets because today we're spoiling some of the major differences between the books and the show. Stay tuned to see how number 1 caught everyone by surprise. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to The Things. Warning, this video contains major spoilers. Now let's check out the 20 differences between Pretty Little Liars books and TV show. No Caleb. Did you know that Caleb is never mentioned in the Pretty Little Liars books? Whatever he's involved with in the show never actually happened in the books. Well, apart from the scene in the first book where the Montgomery family drive to their old house and Mike points out and says that there's Caleb's house. Fans suspect that this probably wasn't the same Caleb, but knowing what we know now, it's pretty weird that this is a coincidence. So far, Caleb has never appeared in the books, so it's safe to assume that he'll never be featured, which also means all your favorite Caleb moments never even happened in the books. No Ezria. Well, sort of. Ezria gets a mixed response from Pretty Little Liars fans, but those that aren't so fond of this teacher-student relationship should know that Ezria isn't so heavily featured in the books. In fact, their story is quite short. It starts similarly as the show. They meet at the bar and hit it off, but the affair is short-lived as A tips off the police who come and arrest Ezra, but the school decides not to press charges. Ezra then leaves for Pennsylvania and isn't seen until the 10th book, where he comes back and makes things even worse. Aria and Noel. So it's because Ezria's relationship is so short-lived in the books, the story is mostly focused on Aria and Noel. In the TV show, we see the rich boy Knoll date Mona and break up with Aria after he discovers she's dating Ezra. Noel's quite the Casanova in the books and is seen kissing plenty of girls, including Alison, who tricked him to make Aria leave him. It's all very complicated and the couple goes through several breakups in the books. Coincidentally, Knoll and Ezra end up hooking up with the same students. How bizarre is that? Bye, Mona. Okay, this one is a bit gruesome and a huge spoiler alert if you haven't read the books. If you have a love-hate relationship with Mona, you might want to read the books because her story is just a little bit different than the show. In the books, after Spencer realizes who Mona really is and why Hanna had a car accident, she confronts her. But the situation doesn't end that well for Mona. They fight, and Spencer pushes Mona down a cliff. And that's it for Mona's part of the story. Well, at least in the books, because we all know how Mona's story ended up in the TV show. Toby ends his life. Toby's story is largely different in the books than it is from the TV show. In the series, he has a somewhat happy ending, well, until he gets hit by a car and breaks his leg. We also know that at some point, he tries to deal with his mom's passing, which makes him go just a bit crazy. But in the books, Emily thinks Toby's the one responsible for what happened to Alison, while Toby thought she knew what happened to Jenna. Emily doesn't listen to him, and the next morning, his body is found behind Emily's house. Toby overdosed on pills and passed away. R.I.P. Jenna. Jenna's character was the one that was completely different in the books. Sure, she was messed up in her own way for what she did to Toby in the series, but you have to admire her no BS attitude. In the TV show, people attempted to end her life twice with no success. But in the books, Aria realizes that Jenna knows who the second A is. By the time she finds her to confront her on what she knows, Jenna's body is found stuffed in a ditch. And that's the end for Jenna Kavanaugh. Well, at least in the books. Charlotte is Courtney, who is Alison. Don't worry, we'll explain. Charlotte was a huge character in both versions of Pretty Little Liars, but her story in the books is slightly different. In the books, Charlotte is Courtney. Courtney is Alison's twin sister. In the books, the two used to love to pretend they were each other. The two don't really have a good relationship, and since we all know that Alison is crazy and was sent to a psychiatric hospital, you can guess what happened when Alison made people think she was actually Courtney. Seriously, this story is all kinds of twisted, and we absolutely love it. No 5 years jump. At the end of season 6, fans of the show got to see a special behind-the-scenes episode that showed what the characters would be doing 5 years from now. Caleb and Hanna aren't dating, Bradley did not become a hotel, Aria does not work with Ezra, and so on and so on. If you weren't particularly thrilled by looking into the character's future, you might want to read the books because that actually never happens. Even better, some of the characters don't even exist, and some were not even alive by this time. Although Ezra is actually just as messed up in the books as this future predicted. Emily gets pregnant. Emily's coming out story in Pretty Little Liars is extremely important, and it stays that way in the books. But guess what? Paige isn't even a character in the books, and all the events that involve Paige and Emily don't really exist. Instead, Emily falls for Maya, and their relationship is one of the most important ones in the books. But that's not all. In the 9th book, it's revealed that she's also pregnant. In the books, Emily tries to hide her pregnancy from her Christian parents and ends up giving her baby girl away to the couple that wanted to adopt her. Her baby's name is Violet. The characters themselves. The characters from the books look a lot different than the ones you might know on the show. Out of all of them, Aria is the one that looks most like her TV show version. But even then, Aria has blue eyes in the books and hazel eyes on the show. Meanwhile, Emily has strawberry blonde hair in the books, Hanna's hair is brown, and Spencer's is blonde. Emily's character is also largely different in the books, as she's much more shy and relatable, and none of the main characters actually have the same birthday as they do in the books. Hanna's eating disorder. On the TV show, Hanna confesses her eating disorder at school after she receives a text from A. But in the books, her eating disorder is revealed in a slightly different way. We know that Spencer is the one that gets locked up in a mental institution on the actual show. But in the books, things take a different turn. Hanna is the one that gets sent to a clinic because of her eating disorder, which is a lot worse than what we see on the show. This also happens around the time when A taunts her for her eating disorder and Mona gets thrown off a cliff. Spoby. Since Toby turns out to be a pretty horrible character in the books, it's safe to say he didn't have such a memorable role, which also means that there was no Spoby, aka the relationship between Spencer and Toby. Toby does end up going to a dance with Emily at some point, but it never becomes one of the main storylines as he ends up having a terrible fate so early in the books. So if you're looking for steamy Spoby scenes in the books, you'll just have to rewatch the actual show because that's the only way you'll be able to enjoy them. No rest for the wicked. Seriously, the books are so much more intense than the TV show. The drama never stops. There are far more secrets and scandals, and some of them are so well written, you don't even figure them out until a few chapters later. If you like the messy drama that comes with this show, but you want to see more of it, you absolutely should read the books. Count just how many times someone loses their life, someone gets in a fight, and any other glorious scandals these characters seem to act out so well. There really is no rest for the wicked in Pretty Little Liars. Emily's sexuality. We already mentioned that Emily got pregnant in the books, which also means her sexuality is presented in a slightly different way. On the TV show, Emily is primarily a gay character, and her romances with men just aren't seen, which we're all thankful for because that's one of the many things we love about this show. But in the actual books, Emily's character is bisexual and can be seen in relationships with men and women. Emily's relationships are also in focus throughout all books, while her character's sexuality isn't as highlighted in the final season. And we don't even hear much about her romances as other relationships are put in focus. The N80 Club. We all love the secrets in Pretty Little Liars TV show, so naturally, we were all there for the secret filming club created by Jason, Ian, and Garrett. But filming teenage girls in their bedrooms is just so creepy. Not even the books wanted to take this on. Yep, that's right, the N80 Club does not exist in the books, and there's no plot that would revolve around the club. In fact, Garrett doesn't even exist in the books. To be fair, it's probably for the better, because we can barely keep up with the scandals from the books as is. Characters that don't exist. We all have our favorite side or even main characters on Pretty Little Liars, and it's hard to believe a story without them. We already said that Caleb and Paige don't exist in the books, but there are far more characters you will never see. They include Shayna, Charles, Bethany, Sarah, and Mary. But there are also book characters that don't appear on the show, such as Kelsey, Amelia, Isaac, Courtney De Laurentiis, Nick, and Tabitha. In fact, at some point, Emily had a crush on Kelsey, but we guess her character wasn't worth highlighting on the TV show, as Emily had Paige, and that's all we need. Allie is a twin. So we already briefly mentioned this, but let's talk about it more because the fact that Allie has a twin changes the entire storyline, which is also why you don't see the character Courtney De Laurentiis on the actual show. Alison is a major character in the TV show, but imagine just how twisted it would all look if you'd see her have a live twin with whom she'd frequently get in trouble, and you'd never know whether it was Courtney or Alison on screen. Actually, never mind. We can see how that would clearly be too confusing for this already mysterious show. Darrin Wildin. Darrin is a completely different character in the books than he is on the show. He's a detective in both situations, but the portrayal of his character is vastly different. In the books, he's actually done some pretty shady things himself, while on the TV show, he's shown as pretty much the good guy. One of the big differences also involves his dating life. In the books, Darrin dates Melissa, who ends up pregnant with his kid, but we all know that Darrin doesn't even make it out on the show. Take that, Cece. You can't get them all. Mike and Knoll. If you're not a fan of these side characters on the show, this won't mean much. But if you are, you should definitely check out the books because Mike and Knoll actually play a lot more important parts in the plot. He has a strange reason for getting back with Hanna in the books. In the books, Knoll is Aria's boyfriend for much longer than he was on the show. In fact, they look totally adorable. Trust us, by the time you finish the books, you'll totally be shipping this adorable couple. Oh, and also, Knoll ends up being alive in the books. Allie is A. When Pretty Little Liars first came out, a lot of people thought they knew exactly who A was because they read the books. Because in the book version, Alison is clearly A. She even goes to jail because of it. But in the TV show, Alison only appears to be A. In the show, she goes to jail for what happened to Mona, but it's later discovered that she was only set up by the actual A and Mona herself. So if you thought you knew who A was when you read the books, this show probably pulled off one of the best surprises on you ever. Have you seen Pretty Little Liars? What's your favorite moment from the entire show? Let us know in the comments. And that's all for our video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.